From the time I was 13 to the time I was 22, I was stalked and harassed anonymously, knowing that there's someone, some mysterious person out there who has it out for you and wants to disturb you. It's terrifying.
Sarah Garone's nightmare began in 1996 when she was just 13 years old and received a disturbing package in the mail.
When I opened it and saw what it contained, these graphic, pornographic images, I was really shaken.
Sarah's mother and stepfather filed a police report, but 1 year later, more porn came in the mail.
This time, it had a message to me in red ink that said, "Dear Sarah, I love you, I want you, I need you."
In college, Sarah says the harassment escalated.
I would receive mysterious emails as though I had signed myself up for them, and these were things of a sexual connotation.
Sarah graduated, moved back to Arizona, and married her high school sweetheart. But then her husband was also targeted, their personal items going missing, including Sarah's underwear.
It did seem like someone had to be entering our home and taking these things.
And in 2005, there was a third package. Inside was a sex toy.
I was just flooded with horror. Part of me thought maybe this would never happen again.
Finally, after 9 years, Sarah received a shocking call from police.
He said, "Do you know someone named Gary Hardy?" And I said, "Yes, that's my stepfather." They had connected the dots, and that it was my stepfather who had been harassing me for all this time.
And Sarah's here now live to share the lessons she's learned after all of this. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So how did police ultimately discover that your stepfather was behind your harassment for all of those years?
Well, as was mentioned previously, eventually in 2005, I received a package with this physical object in it. And of course, I was horrified, and I initially called my husband to say, "Can you please come home and be with me?" He was in a meeting, he couldn't get away, and the next person I called was my stepfather at the time. And he, of course, rushed to the scene, and prior to doing that, he told his secretary exactly what I had received and why he was coming to my aid. Well, come to find out, earlier, his secretary, in opening his mail, had seen this exact same object.
Wow.
And had closed it up, pretended she never saw it. And she really connected the dots.
Wow.
And was the one who went to the police to make a report.
Your mom was married to Gary for 13 years.
That's right.
Did you ever suspect him? Did you ever have a weird feeling around him?
Certainly, yeah. I think there was always an issue for me to fully trust him, but as a stepfather, you maybe think, well, that's just the way it goes. He's not my real dad. But over the years, as these incidents would happen, and, as I started to think about the logic behind it and connecting the dots, it always only made sense that it would be someone in my home, whether it was my brother or my stepfather. And so, yeah, I did ultimately have a strong suspicion that it was him, but could never prove that, of course.
Gary's in prison now. He's in prison. He pled guilty to burglary. I want to make sure I get this right. Burglary and aggravated harassment in your case. Separately, he also pled guilty to child pornography and stealing from people related to his business.
Yeah.
But he may be released in 5 years. How much does that concern you?
A lot, to be honest. I have children, and especially because of the fact that even after he was imprisoned, he continued to make contact with my husband and me.
From prison?
That's right.
What was the nature of the contact?
It would be birthday cards, anniversary cards. For a while, before he was incarcerated, he would make phone calls at all hours.
Wow. Did he apologize? Did he say, I have a problem?
Yeah, there were apologies, many of them very tearful. But to me, I didn't want any of that. I don't need any of that. I just wanted him out of my life.
Right.
Yeah, so the thought of him being released is disturbing, for sure.
Do you forgive him at all?
I do. I'm a person of faith, and that's a really big part of just my moral philosophy, is that forgiveness is possible. And I'm so thankful in my case that it kind of makes it easier that he's completely out of my life, Yeah.
Why did you decide to speak up now? Because I'm sure you've held this for a while.
That's for sure. This all kind of went down and was exposed in about 2005, and that's been 14 years.
Yeah.
So for one thing, I think time heals. I was not ready when I was 22 to talk about all this stuff. But now I think we're really at a moment in our culture where women are able to come forward, especially in the wake of the Me Too movement, able to expose these stories of sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And then as myself, I've become a writer. And, when you become a writer, you reflect on your own life and you go, Oh, I have some stories to tell,
Yeah.
and this is a big one for me.
The lesson learned here. This story is part of our ongoing lessons learned series. What's the one big takeaway you want folks watching to have?
The one thing that I think I've learned in retrospect is I wish I would have paid more attention to that gut feeling. You know, I would never say, oh, everybody should just trust their gut on everything, because some people, you know, may be wrongfully accused in that case. But I think at least it's worth investigating. When you have something, it's a feeling that something's off, strange, it's worth following that a little bit and getting to the bottom of what's causing that.
Sarah, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
With us. We'll be right back.
Thank you.